The video you are about to watch contains a highly sensitive and heavy subject: suicide. The individual that I spoke to, John St. Clair, goes into detail about the death of his 14-year-old son, including what the actual day looked like and the emotions that were felt afterwards. If you or anybody you know are in crisis and are having thoughts of suicide, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. Your life is worth saving.
How's it going, man? It's good to see you in person.
Good to see you as well. It's wonderful to talk to you. It's a very amazing opportunity. So thank you.
Of course. Thank you for being so willing to share. This is definitely a hard topic. And throughout the course of today, if you need to take a break or anything like that, we'll go at your pace, share whatever you're comfortable with.
Thank you.
Just let me know and we'll do whatever we need to do. So just to kind of get it started so our listeners can get to know you just a little bit, go ahead and tell us just a little bit about you yourself, kind of what your interests are, music you're listening to, hobbies, things of that nature.
Oh, that's a wide coverage area. I'm really just kind of into everything from orchestrated music all the way to corn. I mean, I'm all over the spectrum on music. I'm all over the spectrum on reading. I love Stephen King, Daniel Kuntz, just everywhere. I love everywhere. I'm a heavy gamer. I like being outside. I like kayaking, being around the water, being around the lake. But most of all, I like promoting and helping kids do something in any way possible. That's where all my main passions lie. So I'm really just all over the spectrum.
Perfect, man. Well, talking about helping kids, again, as much as you're comfortable with sharing, go ahead and just kind of talk about your story a little bit and stuff that happened with Branden back in 2019, if you're comfortable.
Absolutely. Unknowest to us, my son was going through some type of temporary trauma. We have no idea why. None of his friends know why. He gave no signs that we knew of at the time, of course, that he was having any issues whatsoever. And he came home from school one day as a freshman, seemingly fine, ate some ramen noodles with his sister, did a little bit of laundry. They both went off to their separate rooms, and then he took his own life with a gun. After texting to a few of his friends goodbye and I'm sorry, he gave no reasons to any of these friends. There was one girl that he was speaking with. Some of the last text that he sent was, I'm sorry. I just have to. I don't think right like other people. And then he just took his own life. Never gave a reason, never left a note, never indicated to any of his friends that he was in any kind of trauma, never indicated that he was being bullied in school, which we constantly talked to him about, throughout his entire school career, especially going into high school where we live. Bullying is a big deal down here, so we always kept up on that, kept track of it. We're always interested in both kids' daily activities in school, and it just came from nowhere, just out of nowhere. I had no idea. His mother had no idea. His sister had no idea, and they were very, very close that he was having any kind of issues whatsoever.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Thank you very much.
It's such a hard topic, and it's something that I've experienced as well. I've had a bunch of friends who have taken their own lives over the course of the years, and it's something that never gets easier to deal with. But you've done something very fantastic and take your grieving and your mourning and you've turned it into a positive to help other people out there. So go ahead and talk about B.E.D.S a little bit and what you're doing with that and kind of how that came to be.
That was it wasn't ever intended. Right after Branden made his choice, a couple of close friends, which we didn't have many, we're very isolated ourselves in this town. We had a few acquaintances and one or two friends, and then a few of the teenagers of her friends. My daughter was 2 years ahead of Branden in school, so she had a couple more friends and was a little higher up in the food chain. They said that I should start a Facebook page. I've never had a Facebook page. We don't have social media. The kids didn't really. I think both the kids just maybe a few months before that downloaded the TikTok app, just watching stupid videos with their friends. They had a chat program, WhatsApp, but they didn't have Facebook or anything like that. They just started getting into watching some heavy YouTube, like some of the gaming people and things like that. And so very shortly after that situation, a few days, there was so many people trying to come to our house and asking. My daughter didn't want to go back to school, of course. There was a lot of major drama happening within 24 hours at the school of kids blaming other kids, and it was getting really out of hand really quickly, just over a 2 or 3 day period. So I created a Facebook page, and I was never going to post anything. I was just going to invite Branden and Mary's friends so they could exchange pictures, because kids have a lot more videos and pictures than we do of them. So I was hoping to get lots of videos and pictures of Branden with his friends, things like that. And then I wanted to kind of make sure that Laura and I and Mary were there just in case of the repeat effect of suicide that I had heard about, because I didn't know anything about suicide before this, really. So I created the Facebook page and then was urged to make a post by a couple of people, and just so people will quit asking, just say what's wrong, say what happened. And I couldn't infringe upon the kids, you know what I mean? Like, they were asking. So I made a post, and I was very direct and I was very open. And off that one post, all this happened. All this became what it is. Hundreds of kids started sending me questions and stories of bullying and their own suicidal ideologies and self-harm issues, and going through so many different things that happened in them, at their school, at Branden's school, with bullying and just so many aspects. It was completely overwhelming. I think there was 2 or 3 thousand people
Wow.
sending requests by the end of the first week. And then I was probably getting maybe 200 or 300 requests a week after that. And very, very quickly, it turned into these kids wanted to tell their stories, but they wanted their names out of it, or the parents wanted to tell their stories to show support to the kids, but they wanted their names out of it. And so I just kind of let it become what it was and allowed everybody to have a place to vent. But I was the mediator, so to speak. I made sure that I took names out, that I didn't say the name of our school systems or our counties, or, I let them kind of let their rage out a little bit, and allowed other adults to chime in and comment and offer them different options and ask them questions and offer help. And that's what kind of molded B.E.D.S into what it was. That's all of a sudden one day I realized, 3 or 4 months later, this all happened very quickly. Like within 2 months, I realized, after doing research here and talking to so many of these kids, that there's nothing here really directly focused to kids. I had a lot of kids telling me that they have reached out for help, but while they were sitting there in, the psych's office or the counselor's office, there was, an adult drug addict sitting next to them, or, an adult alcoholic sitting next to them, screaming at somebody on their phone, and where their parents didn't have insurance, or there's so many obstacles. And as I do during that time, especially, I was sitting alone in my basement 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and within 24 hours, I had the entire bylaws of B.E.D.S written. I already started filing for 501c. My wife and my daughter helped me come up with the name B.E.D.S, Branden Edward Darth St. Clair Teen Outreach Center. And then I put it on Facebook. I told people what I wanted to do and what it was going to do, what it was for. And just very quickly, I mean, within, I think 5 months, 4 months, we had a building, we had donations from the community, we had hundreds of volunteer hours, kids from everywhere in the county painting and helping with flooring and plumbing. And it was just absolutely amazing. By a couple weeks after Branden's birthday, we opened B.E.D.S, and this all happened in February 27th. And it was before June that we already had the building and the donations and the name. And all the bylaws written, and I didn't know anybody, so I had to find board members and talk to people, and we didn't know anybody from the community. And then it kept evolving, and then I realized that, well, if this place is for kids, then the kids need to run it. So I told my daughter, find other kids and who want to help, and we're going to create a junior board, and they're going to tell the adult board what they need, what they want to do, what's working, what's not working. So we created an entire junior board, and it was just absolutely overwhelming. It just never stopped. Nothing bad ever evolved. It was just a non-stop forward movement of all these amazing good things, especially with all the kids helping. I mean, it couldn't go wrong, really.
That's crazy that it happened that
It
quickly.
was 6 months. Within 6 months,
Damn.
it was just done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that support from the community immediately is just fantastic. And it shows how needed something like that is.
Very much.
You know, in today's day and age, and, you know, luckily, you know, it seems like social media hasn't been super prevalent in your house up until that point. You know, kids on social media today, you know, it's so easily accessible for them to, you know, look at things and have their self-esteem destroyed and feel like they're so out of place with, you know, the norm and all that stuff. So the fact that there's a place run by kids where kids can tell their story and feel heard that's just fantastic, man. I just want to say thank you for doing that, and thank you for getting that up and running and helping kids all across the country and all across the world. That's amazing stuff, John.
Thank you. It's not an endeavor that I ever thought that I would be able to accomplish nor be a part of, I guess. Branden really opened up a whole new, you know, genre of life that I had no idea was anywhere near that critical, you know, in the red, you know, running on empty, no road leading anywhere, the stigma surrounding all of it, there was just, it was so devastating. Once these kids started telling these stories, even if some of them were embellishing, there's still, you know, every single story must be heard. It must be followed through. It must be investigated thoroughly. Even if one of the kids, you know, that were telling all these horrific, you know, tales, it was terrifying. And there's so much wrong. There's so much wrong in so many facets. And that's what I could do now. That's the only thing I could think of to do immediately to get something happening, because I intend to destroy the system and rebuild it. You know, like I want to tear down the school's rules and rebuild them for the kids, not for the staff, and change laws and, you know, anti-bullying laws. So many things are happening that I've started all from the beginning of this, but so many of them take so long to do. And then there's all these kids just sitting there, you know, by the time these things start actually helping, they're going to be having kids of their own, you know. So I had to do something immediately, and that was the best thing I could do.
Yeah, one step at a time.
Yeah,
always one step at a time. And that's,
well, I mean, I like trying to do 4 or 5 at a time because I'm really, really impatient, but that was definitely my first big step at a time.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, that's what we're about here as well. You know, as much as we play, you know, rock music and go to shows and promote all of those crazy lifestyles and all of that, you know, we're about self-love and taking care of each other and, you
Absolutely
know, checking up on each other, because there is such a stigma attached to it, and there is such a, you got to keep it hushed. You can't talk about your mental illness. People can't know that you're mentally ill, because then that's a sign of weakness, and you can't show weakness and all of that. And so,
very much,
you know, we're trying to destroy the system over here. You're trying to destroy it out there in Tennessee, and we're gonna make
it'll
it happen.
get there eventually.
Oh yeah, we'll get there for sure.
It'll happen.
Go ahead and talk about your book that you just published back in March of this year. It's called Branden's Choice, correct?
Yes. That is that was pushed because of all the posts that happened on Facebook. I started posting information and statistics, and it led into the kids posting their stories. I'd talk with these kids for a week or two. They would tell me, hey, if you want to post this, you know, because now I'm doing okay, or now I figured this out, how to do this with my parents, or how to come out to my aunt whom I live with, or how to get my grandmother to understand me better, because, both parents are not present, and they just were coming up with all these amazing ideas. And so some of them I started asking, this might be helpful to other kids your age. Do you want to post this? And I'll take your name out and I'll go through and make sure, you can't really be identified. And, of course I asked them, and if they didn't, some of them are like, oh, I'm too scared. I'm like, well, then absolutely don't. Some of them are like, John, I'm gonna tell you this story and I want you to post it because I know a couple of friends who would read it and they would understand, and it would make them be more prevalent and feel more courage to stand up for themselves in their situations. And then kids started doing something that I didn't know they would do. And parents too, they started sending me questions. Like right now, I have about 1,700 questions sitting to still answer. I try to answer at least 10 or 20 a day. Sometimes, I'll get way until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll get like a good 30 or 40 knocked out. They started sending me questions. I'm just unbelievably it's so hard to describe why Branden and myself and my wife and my daughter, we talked about everything. We never talked about suicide. I mean, I know that I remember having a few mentions of it throughout their life or at some point for some reason, but it was never an issue. It was never a topic for anything because we were all crazy and happy and just having fun. Like we're such a tight knit group. So when these kids are sending me these questions about self-harm and they've already got 15 cuts on their legs and they're going to start on their other leg, or they almost took all the pills that they found last night and they're thinking about doing it tonight. It just absolutely put me beside myself of why they can't talk to their own parents or whoever their guardian is, whoever they're with, or something like that. So I started answering these questions that they started sending me. And then it started becoming where I was posting the questions. And then parents started sending me questions or asking me, my daughter would like you, or my son would like to ask you a question, but they want you to post it. And they're coming from everywhere, like Australia and England and Texas and California and Florida. So I started answering some of these questions. And then that's when the book thing happened. Russell Brand, strangely, he kind of pushed the situation. He kind of inspired me with a big video message he sent to B.E.D.S. You can find that. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's absolute. I mean, you'll cry. I can't even listen to the first 2 or 3 sentences. I'll start crying. But he sent this video message all the way from over there. And then all the little things that were happening on the side. And then there was a couple people kept pushing. You've got a lot of information here. Like you should condense it all, make a book. I've never thought about writing a book in my life. I was absolutely terrified. But then I did. I took all my notes, everything that happened from the beginning. I started like kind of organizing it a little bit. And then realized, yeah, this might be super informative and maybe give somebody who might be in that moment, like, well, hey, look at all these kids that are around my age. They're going through either a lot worse or this one's went through the same thing, but they're still pushing forward. They found a way. And so as I started writing it, then I realized that's not 100% what this is. This is more of, this is what's going to happen. This is what's left after you commit suicide. You're maybe idolizing suicide in some way, and you think things are going to be better, or you think the girl's going to love you, or the mom or dad's going to miss you and wish that they had bought you those shoes or gave you more freedom. But that's not what's going to happen. And I realized that's what this book now has to be. It has to be a terrible warning, a terrible conclusion to what suicide will bring, how it is not a glorified thing. And that's why in the book, which was never going to be there, I included a chapter called The Day Of. And I had to put a warning before the chapter and right before certain parts in the chapter. Via my publisher, I actually wanted to let the kids know this is what suicide actually is. So I found my son and he was still alive. And so I put The Day Of in there, where my daughter and I went in his room and found him. Every single second that I remember, every breath, every emotion I felt, everything I seen, everything that happened afterward, the entire Day Of is in that book. And I gave everything I had into the book to try to scare even one kid away from thinking that that could in any way solve anything.
Wow. Sorry.
They're quite right.
I think as shocking as something like that can be, I think it's a fantastic tool for youth nowadays, because a lot of times it's like you said, it's kind of glorifying the image of it, and not really thinking through on what it's going to look like once you're actually gone and what is left behind and everything. And so the fact that it's so vivid, I definitely think that that will make an impact for sure. And again, big, big, massive props to you for being so willing to share and being so open with everything, because that's how word's going to get out there. And I know it's very difficult, and I just want to applaud you once again for doing so.
Again, thank you, but it is definitely not something. It was it's completely against my nature.
Yeah.
That's what has been the most prevalent difficult thing throughout. Like, we're very private. I don't like I don't like anybody bothering my family, like knowing our business, knowing where we live.
Yeah.
I made everybody, if they did anything online with gaming or anything, everybody made up fake names, use voice disguisers, things like that, like very private, changing passwords every 3 months, and never take images of your house, in your selfies with addresses or license plates. Like, I taught these things to the kids, and my wife taught these things to the kids from a very young age. And the first chapter of the book is called Branden. Like, I just told everything about Branden, the things that we went through within school, like the ostracizing, the corruption, the medical end of things. At one point, they tried to diagnose him with ADHD, and I dug into all that, and people weren't even licensed to say such things. And I just started digging into all these things after Branden, and realizing how much is actually really wrong. And then I realized that I can't write this book unless I tell everything. I have to. I put in the book as well my personal almost attempt of suicide. My wife and my daughter, they needed to get away from all this stuff. B.E.D.S was just about ready to be opened. I was doing all these things. And my wife has a family member that lives by a beach. I was we were in the midst of everything with B.E.D.S. There was volunteer rallies happening and stuff, so I could get volunteers, things like that. But they got invited to go to the beach, and I said, no, you guys need to go to the beach. Go. I'll stay here and do this. Of course, I have no idea what I'm doing at this point. I have no idea what shock feels like. I have no idea the ramifications of being alone in this house yet. I don't know any of these things. There's no handbook. There's no rules that you read. What are you supposed to do? What are you not supposed to do? And so I just told them, go. I'll stay busy. You guys go. You need to get away from all this stuff. But then I realized very quickly, within a day or two, that I'm not okay. And I literally had the gun that my son used. I got it back from the police. It was still in the box. I had to put that in there, because how could I not tell a kid that I understand what they're feeling if I don't be honest with them and tell them I actually do. Like, I've been in the moment. I don't know what happened. I don't know exactly how that I came out of it. Like, I have a couple of notions, but I had to tell everything. I had to tell everything in order to be honest to a kid reading it. So it was terrifying, but freeing sort of at the same time. It sort of feels amazing, because I'll start crying for this, but I sort of feel like I've sort of immortalized my son. I've given him some kind of respect to make his life not have been in vain, to explain how he has changed and help other people by making me open my eyes to what's wrong, what's going on, and what's happened. So I had to put everything into it. And I did. I put every single thought and emotion I could possibly find and put it into that book.
Mm-hmm. Well, that book is Branden's Choice, and it's available on Amazon right now. You can go to the B.E.D.S website, and there's a link to buy it right there. I will definitely be checking it out. at some point in the very near future. I've been meaning to get my hands on a copy. I just haven't had the chance to yet, but I will be checking it out, and I highly recommend that everybody else does as well. To close here really quick, you and I talked about some awesome things that you were doing for awareness, some events that are coming up. I know you were talking about Rockin' for Awareness that you put on in Tennessee, and I saw some other like walks and other events that are happening on your B.E.D.S website. So talk about some of the stuff that you're doing events wise that are raising awareness and benefiting teens across the world.
Right now it's still in the works, but hopefully 2023 we're going to do our second Rocking for Awareness. Rocking for Awareness is a 2 to 3 day event. I did it once. I was hoping to do it the next year, but then we had COVID. So it kind of blew a lot of stuff out of the water with COVID there. But the first Rocking for Awareness, that happened about 6 months after Branden. And it's just nothing but local bands, classic country, a little bit of hip hop, hard rock, heavy metal, grunge metal, doesn't matter. As long as you have a mission to play music and you care about people. Like, I think we had about 30 bands that wanted to go there from Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, everywhere. I think altogether that weekend we had about 18 or 19 bands, and they just come out, we throw them in any order kind of, and they just play. They give a message about hope for the kids. Some of them would actually say a few things that I went through some stuff, music helped me, or this helped me, and then they play some more songs. And it's all for bringing awareness and trying to break the stigma to teen mental health, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideology, and bullying, anti-bullying, very big with the anti-bullying. So I'm hoping that happens next year. I'm working on Korn, Panic at the Disco, Disturbed, Hollywood Vampires, Tenacious D, and then all these local bands, probably 30, 40 local bands. Trying to get Bridgestone Arena there to donate their arena to us for the entire weekend. And everything, it will be the cheapest tickets on the planet for all these amazing bands, even the big ones, $20, $25. And plus, a lot of the kids will be able to get pictures with all the bands. We'll be shooting off all kinds of free t-shirts. That's just something on the side, something big. We do t-shirt sales. We do fundraisers with walks. I'm planning a riding for awareness, because the motorcycle community is huge in the South. So I'm planning a riding for awareness. One of the last things that my son and I wanted to do was go to the Grand Canyon and go to Roswell, New Mexico, and eat at the Roswell Cafe, and then go sit by the black mailbox and look for aliens, just to say we did it. So that was one of our big trips from McMinnville to the Grand Canyon. So it'll be riding for awareness from McMinnville, Tennessee to the Grand Canyon. That's going to happen next year. I've got one of the largest Harley dealers. I believe it's Pete Vinaka is one of the largest Harley Davidson dealership owners. He's going to be waiting for us at the end. I spoke with his PR people, and they're going to have a big band set up and big barbecue stuff going on, and we'll probably ending up there. I don't know how many bikes will go. Right now we're roughly around 2,500. I'm hoping 10 or 20,000, but we'll have to break them up in small groups. It'll be amazing.
Yeah.
And we do walks, where we've got all kinds of little things, planned events for kids, like rock painting and placing it all over different places. I'm going to try to spread that to like every state, get a group of kids in every state at a school and just say, hey, can you guys paint 20 rocks, put the B.E.D.S symbol on them, and write a message on the bottom and set them somewhere in your city. Put the name of your city on there. There's a lot of things that I'm trying. And then one of the biggest things that is going on right now is that I've written a new anti-bullying bill for Congress. I've got 4 congressmen and 3 governors so far that are going to be backing it. So I get to present that to Congress in 2023. It'll make under 18 bullies responsible for being bullies. And it'll be a federally backed program, which will force them to not just get in trouble at school, but force them to get help with their parents' involvement. Some type of counseling. Why are you being a bully? Why are you cyberbullying? And it will go all the way up to the point where it will become a misdemeanor or a felony, and they could have digital rights removed from them and driver's license taken away from them until they're 18 years old.
Wow.
So it'll actually do something, because right now their anti-bullying bill, there is none. It's nothing. There's really no such thing. So I'm doing that as well, because that's what the kids said is the biggest problem is the bullies, the bullies and the lack of support to get the bullies off of them, to allow them to feel comfortable to be them in school. So that's that was the next step I had to take for them. So a lot going on, millions of more things planned going on, of course. But it's all in the works. Check the B.E.D.S website. There's always something going to happen.
For sure. And what's that website again? Go ahead and say it for everyone out there.
Yes, that's bedsteenoutreach.org. B.E.D.S teenoutreach.org.
Perfect. Well, all right, John, lots of great stuff on the horizon for you. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today.
Absolutely.
And we're going to be raising money for B.E.D.S throughout the month of September for National Suicide Prevention Month through a bunch of social media campaigns and pushes that we're doing. So you're going to be a huge part of what we're doing here in Green Bay. And I foresee this as being a partnership that'll last for a little while.
I think that's amazing. I'm hoping to see you guys pretty soon. I've spoken with Lionhead Books and your Green Bay Mall, and I might be up there toward the end of the month to do a book signing.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead. Yeah. Feel free to reach out.
I'll let you know
us.
Right away.
Definitely. Because we'll plug it on air. We'll plug it on our website and social media and, be out there to meet you and talk to you. And, it'll be nice to see you out in the community.
I'll bring you a book personally. You don't have to order one. I'll bring you one.
I appreciate that. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much. All right, John. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you get back to whatever all the stuff you're getting back to. And we'll be in touch. All right, man.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.